God is good all the time. And today I'm going to talk about milk and food storage, different ways that you can store your milk, different types of milk you can store, and then I'm going to go over a few other things. So let's get started. All right, the very first thing I want to show you so I can get this back in the freezer is this is one viable way you can store milk, is in your freezer in glass jars, but there is a trick to it. Now what I have here is raw goat's milk that we get from our friend, and every once in a while if we get more than we need and I'm not making cheese and all that, then I'll just go ahead and put away some in the freezer so I can have some on hand if we ever run out and we really need it. Now, when I am putting the milk into the jars, I only fill the jars, and you can see the jar isn't all the way full even with this frozen, but I only fill the jars. Do you see this line right here? About right to there. And then I set the lid on. I just set it on. I don't even put the band on there. And then I stand it upright, obviously, and then let it freeze until it is solid. And that will give room for the milk to expand upwards. And then if I still have a lot of room left, I'll go ahead and add a little bit more. And that's why you see this line here is where I went ahead and added more. And then once it's entirely frozen, I then come back and put the lid on, the band on, and I still try not to tighten it down too tight just in case it decides to expand some more, because I've had that happen and then ended up breaking my jar. The other thing you have to keep in mind is when you go to move things around in your freezer where your milk is stored frozen, if you bang the jars against each other, they are very fragile and they're going to break. So I have lost a few jars and a few quarts of milk because I wasn't as careful as I'd like to be. And the other thing is don't try storing in half-gallon jars. Those are going to break more easily than your quart jars, especially if you go with the regular mouth ones over the wide mouth. Okay, I'm going to put this back in the freezer and then I'll be back with more on this. Now, I don't know if anyone out there has tried freezing their milk and went to use it for things and found it just didn't work for them, but I have not had any issues. I've actually made a very successful batch of cheese using frozen milk and just using as regular milk however you would use it. So I see freezing your milk as is one way to do it. You just have to be very careful so that you don't lose your jars and your milk at the way that you put it into the freezer. You could store in plastic, but I don't recommend it because freezing and heating plastic are two of the ways that causes it to break down, and thus the chemicals in the plastic are more likely to get into your food. Okay, so another really good method, and right now we're just talking about dairy milk, I'm going to get to other types of milk as well, is the Gosner boxed milk. Now, I would consider this the least healthy option, and the reason why is because it is ultra pasteurized. It has to be in order for it to be shelf stable in the box. Now, some places will tell you a year, some places will tell you 6 months as far as storage. I know people who've had this on their shelves for at least 2 years and went to use them and they were still just fine. I've had some for up to a year. I try to cycle through all my milk. I do keep quite a bit of this stored, but and I personally like the flavor. If you like the taste of canned milk, you know, because it's been kind of cooked down and condensed, it gets a different type of flavor when it's ultra pasteurized. And I don't mind the taste of it. I think it's pretty good, especially in certain applications. And but if you don't mind that flavor, you probably wouldn't mind this, or if nothing else, it's still going to be really great for cooking and baking with. And it is ready to use as is. So this is a real handy way to have it. But again, what I would say is the least, probably the least healthy because it's been ultra pasteurized. And as far as Gosner goes, I've heard a lot of good things about them, but I am not sure. I haven't looked into them yet to see what kind of hormones or if they use the hormones in the cows that produce this milk. So that's something you want to consider. But if you're looking at something for an emergency purpose, this is still recommended. And again, it has a pretty long shelf life. Now, on to some powdered milks. I have 3 types of powdered milks here that I recommend, all 3. Now, those of you who watched my food storage recommendation video from, I don't know how, it was a little while back, not too long ago. I mentioned the Hoosier Hill Farms organic whole powdered milk, and that's what this is. I don't have the package to show you, but I will be linking to all of these below because I recommend all of these. I can't give you a link to the Gosner milk because it's not on Amazon, but you can find it in your local store. That's where I get this. And I've heard somebody say or read somewhere where someone said they were getting it at their dollar store. So that's even better than, because we pay twice that much for this. Now, this one is probably the most expensive of the whole powdered milks, but again, it's organic and hormone free, and I find this one, the Hoosier Hill Farms, to be the best in flavor out of the 3 powdered milks I have here. The one that I like second best for flavor is this one. This one I like best for price because, and now I can't remember what the price was, but you get a lot more in this than you do with this one, and it seems like it's considerably less money, and you can get it on Subscribe and Save. Now this one is non-GMO, it is hormone free, and it is whole milk. So the only thing it doesn't say specifically that it's organic, but what matters to me most is that it is non-GMO and hormone free. That's what matters to me most about this. And it is a whole milk. I recommend, if you're going to put away powdered milk, look for whole milk. It's going to be more expensive, but it's going to be healthier for you and better tasting. So again, a side-by-side taste comparison. It was a pretty close call, but I still think the flavor of this one is the best, but this one is still quite good. Now, then my third recommendation is the Meyenberg goat milk, and you can get this in the whole goat milk, and that's again what I recommend. And so I will link to this below. I have quite a bit of this stored up, and these ones are in metal cans. I do not know the shelf lives for sure on all these. You're going to read what they'll say on the can, but what I do know is that's just a recommendation. Most of the stuff is going to last much, much longer. This for example, I opened up a couple weeks ago, and I've had this in storage for a couple of years, and it's still very, very good. So now for flavor, it's my least favorite, but again, I still think the flavor of this is very good. And if you really like goat's milk, you are going to like this one. You may like this one better than the others. I just prefer the taste of cow's milk over goat's milk. But if you need goat's milk and you prefer it or whatever, then I highly recommend this one for food storage. And just an excellent product in my personal opinion. It's going to be a little more spendy than this one here, but I think you can get it for a little bit less than the cow's milk one, surprisingly enough. Because this is 24 ounces. I think I have to look again. You can check the links below, and I should have been ready before I started this video. This one was somewhere between 12 ounces and 16 ounces. I'm thinking this one was 16 ounces. So this one was a whole pound. So price comparison, these could be pretty close. Sorry I wasn't wasn't ready on the numbers on that, but just check all 3 of them out on Amazon there and see which ones you think as far as price goes. If you're looking for the lowest price option, but it's still a high quality one, I highly recommend this one. And again, if you have Subscribe and Save set up, then you're going to save even more, and that's your best deal. Now, my other options that I keep on hand, and this is if you're vegan or not, is storing whole organic almonds like I have here, and I mention these quite a bit. I'm very pleased with these. Link to these below as well. And some coconut, unsweetened and organic. Get them vacuum sealed into your jars, and I will link to this coconut below as well. Other options are any other types of nuts or seeds that you like to make milk out of that you can stock up on and store vacuum sealed into your jars. And then once you know how to make your milks from nuts and seeds, my two favorites for nut milks are the almond and the coconut, and the cashew is really tasty, and so is Brazil. But these are my two favorites because of the pulp I get and because of the flavor. Hemp seed I didn't care for as much, though I love hemp seed a lot. But try all these and learn how to make your nut milks. I have a few different videos out on this, and I'll link to one of them right up here. And super easy process, and it's cheaper than stocking up on the boxed nut milk, which is far more expensive than making your own, and usually has a bunch of unsavory ingredients in it. Where this stuff you can make however you want, and stored like this, it's going to take up less room and last for a very, very long time. And though it's going to be your longest in preparation, because you're going to need a whole day to get it ready to have it in a milk form. So just keep some of this stuff in mind. That's why I think it's a good idea to have a liquid form, a frozen milk, a powdered milk, and then even some nuts and seeds that you like. So you can have several different options of milk or ways to make milk put away into your food storage. You don't have to stick with just one. It's kind of like that idea of don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's why I like to dehydrate, can, freeze, and also purchase freeze-dried stuff. And if we ever get a freeze dryer ourselves someday, then I'll be freeze drying produce. But for now, I will buy whatever freeze-dried stuff I can to have on hand, because they all have their different purposes and all have different types of length of storage time. So, and then again with your frozen stuff, if something happens and you don't have power, your freezer goes out, or your power goes out for an extended period of time, you can always take that stuff and can it up, or like take your milk and turn it all into cheese, which is going to have, or in yogurt, which is going to have a much longer life when you do that. Okay, now a couple other things I wanted to show you, and one of them I thought was really interesting. Well, this was that I've been talking about the medjool dates. Now, I have a jar here of medjool dates, and I'm always talking about how I never lose seals. Well, I either lost a seal on this, or I never sealed it to begin with. Now, who knows if the issue is with the lid itself. Oh, the lid's got a little bit of a dent in it, so that could be it. Now, I want to show you something, and I'm not sure what to think about this. You see this at the bottom? It looks foamy and bubbly, which at first I wasn't concerned because of the fact that dates, when they're put away in storage, what happens is a lot of times the sugar will start to leach out of the fruit and then coat the outside and then crystallize, and it can look like mold. However, these are bubbles in here. And so I opened it up, and when I smelled it, it smells fermented. Now, my guess is these are probably just fine, especially if they're fermented. But I'm gonna take all these out, and I'm gonna kind of look them over real good and just see if they're salvageable, because my guess is that they are, and they're probably just fine. But I am curious if this has ever happened to anyone when it comes to storing dates or any other kind of really soft, very moist type fruit like this. And I want to see what your opinion is on that. None of my other ones have done that because they all are still sealed. This one just, like I said, either lost its seal, or maybe I forgot to vacuum seal it before I put it away. Who knows? I've done stuff like that before. So give me your opinions on this, or if you know anything about it. Personally, I think it smells really good. It doesn't smell rotten. It's like I said, it just smells like a fermented fruit. So anyway, there's that. Now, a couple other things I just want to show you is that here is my elk jerky, and I have a video of that, and I will post that right up here. And if I have it out, by the way, because sometimes they don't go out in order. And in that video I was talking about, I did 2 different types of marinade, and one of them using the coconut aminos. Now this is the one using the soy aminos. I still have the ones with the coconut aminos on the wood stove dehydrating. So, but some has been finished and I tried it, and my opinion is I actually like the coconut amino one better. Even though this one with the Bragg's liquid aminos is really good, I'm liking the coconut aminos one better, and I'll probably do that from now on. And also what I ended up doing was sprinkling some more pepper over the top, especially for Mr. Ring, because he loves that black pepper. If you saw my video on that, let me see if I can say it right this time. Kefir, I believe that's how you say it. I've been practicing because that one just stumps me. For some reason, it's not even that hard. This is it with the with some freeze-dried raspberries thrown in with the elderberry. And I made one the other day and then added a little bit of vanilla to it, and oh boy, it was so good. However, the one that I put the cinnamon stick in, I was not crazy about. I'm not going to do the cinnamon in there again. I thought it would taste pretty good, but for some reason, as much as I love cinnamon, that was just a no-go for me. You can try it, but it was not my favorite. So anyway, I have another batch of the raspberry elderberry going, and again, I've just been drinking this every day, and I'm really liking the way it makes me feel and the way it's been helping my throat a lot. Okay, well, I think that's about it. And again, give me your feedback on what you think on the dates, and any feedback you have on milk ideas for food storage. Go ahead and post those in comments below so that we can learn from you as well. What have you tried? What works for you? And what is your favorite way to do it? Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.